it's just like the perfect amount to screw it all up.
Well, and we have like the highest cellular prices in the world.
Oh yeah, of course you do, because you need the most stuff.
It's
Anyways, we're
ridiculous.
live now.
When I was
Hello,
in
everybody.
Thailand,
We're talking about wireless internet. Keep going. Let's go.
I was just gonna say, when I was in Thailand, it was actually cheaper for me to call home than it was to be like in Alberta and call Ontario.
That's well, there you go. There you go. Also, if I remember right, Canada has like one of the slower like wireless internets, right? I think it's like a little bit faster than the United States, because the United States is like the slowest. But I
Yeah,
think Canada is like a little bit faster, and then like the rest of the world is like way faster. It's great.
absolutely. It's ridiculous. Like we're the first two adopters and we are by far the slowest. By far.
Yeah. Yep. Anyways, that was a brief segment of wireless internet. How's everybody doing? Uh, yeah. Well, this is always the awkward beginning, because I don't want to just get into news because people have to like slowly join, you know.
They do.
But I also don't know how to spend like the first few minutes. Like I don't know what to do. Uh,
I could have a happy dance party about the fact there's finally a ship to track, because
oh,
that's like
what's
the most exciting thing in my life today.
what's about your ship?
They're at like midnight my time as I was trying to go to bed. Um, I checked the marine tracker because that's what you do before you go to bed, obviously. Um, and one of the ships was leaving Odessa. So there is one ship left in Chernomorsk port, and the other ship is all the way down in Romanian waters already, which is crazy exciting. It means there's finally something to track.
Nice. And
Yeah.
Russia just sat there and did nothing, right?
Well, so there's a couple interesting things about it. I am pretty sure that Russia sat there and did nothing, or at least I should say, I'm pretty sure that there's no evidence that we have seen that Russia did anything other than that. However, when ships sailed out during the Black Sea Grain Initiative, they sailed quite far off the coast. And this particular ship, which is very small, it's like the size of a tugboat, it sailed very close to the coast of Odessa Oblast, all the way down to Romanian waters. So it's just off Constanta right now. So it was certainly in a very specific path that was a very safe path. It also had an escort. There's satellite imagery of an escort ship with it. And it just generally was quite aware of its surroundings, I would suggest. It is now headed to Israel. It is loaded with wheat for Israel.
There you go. They can enjoy some wheat. uh, that's pretty cool. I've been hoping a long time that ships will just start going, because
Yeah.
I don't think Russia's gonna do anything. Like, what are they gonna do? It would be rude if they did anything.
Um,
It'd be rude. Let's just be honest.
well, yeah, I think it's the most likely chance for Russia to do anything would be to target a ship when it's actually in one of the ports, because then it's not moving. Moving targets seem to be more difficult for them to target. But specifically, a ship sitting in a port waiting to be loaded is a generally good target. We've seen that that's partially why Ukraine has targeted ships in Russia's ports that same way.
Yeah,
And these, sorry, go ahead.
we have a question. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have a question that I think is a very legitimate question. What was the
Yeah,
escort ship?
we don't know. And even if I did know, I probably would not be talking about that publicly.
Okay.
We have known about these ships for quite some time. And the majority of the people who have known about them have not mentioned them at all, just for OPSEC reasons. They are quite public knowledge. Even Zelensky mentioned them in his speech at the UN today. So it's not like they're specifically hidden any longer, but there was a concerted effort on some of the popular accounts that you follow to not mention them earlier when we first started to see them about in the Black Sea. And what they are specifically, I'm not sure that we know, and I'm not even sure that they use the same ships every time.
Okay. All right. But yeah, it's targeting a ship in port seems to be the way to go. Because it's
right. And so like these small ships, this ship only took like a couple days to fill up, and the ship that's there right now will be in port for like 3 or 4 days max. But if they started to bring in the larger ships, then they would be in port for a longer period of time to be filled up. And that would be a more stationary target that could possibly be more viable. So it'll be interesting to see what the evolution is between large ships, small ships, and all the rest.
yeah. Yeah, it makes me frustrated to think about. But yeah. But at least the small ships can do something. See, they have serve a role after all. The little tiny baby sized ships.
Oh, they totally do. Like if they didn't start, nobody else would follow. And this is exactly what happened at the start of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, is that all of these smaller, older ships started it. And so we need to see this happen. It was like the very first step that had to happen.
So does older mean faster? Or the older
Nope.
ships faster? Okay.
No.
Because I thought the newer ships were like intentionally slower, like for fuel efficiency.
It's possible that there's some of that going on between different types of ships, for sure. Absolutely there is. But specifically, these ships are like 20 years old or more, and they are not generally a fast ship.
Okay. All right. So once they hit Romanian waters, they're completely safe. So it's just kind of like this little run that they got to do. Right.
So far, that has been the truth of it. And we even saw some of the ships that had been stuck in port and then sailed out. They specifically, once they got past Romania, were sailing even in international waters. So they had some presumed safety, I would say. Not like way into international waters, but like further into it than the very first ship had sailed. So there is definitely an expectation from some of these ship captains that they are moderately safe from Russian interdiction once they get past Romanian waters, essentially.
So I know you've talked about this before, but I don't really understand the answer. So okay, so there's a course that's close to the shoreline, right? That's like
Yeah.
safer. Can you explain this? Why being closer to the first? How far out to sea are we talking? When we say close, and second, why is it safer?
I would have to measure it, but it's like well within the green area. Like
Okay.
we're talking a matter of kilometers out there.
Okay.
Like less than 5 to 10, somewhere in the 5 to 10 kilometers for this particular ship range. It would have moved a little bit. Yeah. Somewhere in about there. Maybe a little bit further out.
So like
Yeah.
that somewhere.
Give or take. That's about where the satellite image is today. You could actually look up, David Helms posted about it just a couple hours ago. And he has the satellite image on there. And so like the smaller ships can go closer to land, which is part of why you saw this very first ship be a very small ship, because it can go in like the safest path because it's the smallest and doesn't sit lowest, or it doesn't sit as low in the water. Yeah, I guess that didn't really, but you can see the track there. So
Yeah.
it's staying really close to land, well within Ukrainian territorial waters, and for the most part, like right up against where we would expect them to see. And so they're doing that because Ukrainian Navy doesn't specifically have like a whole bunch of really big ships to fend off any Russian attacks, but they do have things like the Neptune system and other land-based assets that would be able to fend off any kind of Russian, well, at least attempt to fend off any kind of Russian attacks.
Yeah.
The
And
closer you are to land, the easier that would be, essentially.
if I remember, there was something about the depth of the water being like a. Was there something about that? I remember something about that.
Yeah.
Although I don't.
So it's the darker part of the water on the right-hand corner of your screen. That's really deep. Then the lighter the water gets as it gets closer to the shore, that's less and less and less deep. So when you're sailing closer to the shore, it means that other larger ships can't get as close to you because they just can't sail in that much water safely. And obviously there's like different shoals and other obstructions under the water that could kind of also cause problems for a larger ship in that area. And then we also, the thing we don't know would be mines, where exactly Ukraine has laid mines in those areas to make sure that Russian ships can't come closer to Ukrainian land. So wherever those mines are, you either have to be on the inside of them or the outside of them. And either way, you're going to have to, it's going to be harder for larger Russian ships to get closer to a ship that's traveling closer to shore.
That makes sense. Okay. Anyways, uh, is there anything else you would like to talk about regarding ships and grain and
Not
or
really.
just the Black Sea in general?
Yeah, I not overly. I think there's some interesting stuff going on in the Black Sea right now, but we don't have enough information to be really sure of exactly what's happening there. And without being a little bit more sure of it, I don't want to speak to anything. It was interesting. Before I came on, I was able to listen to a portion of Zelensky's speech at the UN today. And he talked, there was a big section about the Black Sea Grain Initiative and grain in general, and this particular Ukrainian corridor. So I would suggest that I'm sure that the Ukrainian government was very happy that this particular ship left today on the day that Zelensky was going to speak to the UN.
Yep. Well, that's good timing, I guess. I wonder if it was intentional,
I sure
or
wonder. Can't imagine that they would ever plan out something specifically because it gave them some really good press opportunities.
yeah.
They definitely never do anything like that. Or maybe they do.
Well, okay. Yeah. So I guess we can move on then. Tonight, there is an attack on Kyiv. I'm not sure if anything's happened. They it was a Shahed attack, from what I understand. Um, and I've heard that a lot of the Shaheds were shot down. So yeah, that's all I could say about Kyiv tonight. Last night there was an attack on Lviv. This was an unfortunate event. They hit a warehouse. Now, what was in the warehouse? Um, Ukraine says that it was humanitarian, and Russia, of course, says it wasn't. Obviously, I have no idea, so I have no opinion on what was in the warehouse. But unfortunately, I know that one man died. Several warehouses were destroyed. Schools and whatnot had all their windows blown out from the explosions, and yeah. So that happened in Lviv last night. In Kryvyi Rih, there was an Iskander M strike. I don't know any details about that strike, um, so I can't really expand on it other than it happened. Um, the Shaheds that attacked Lviv, from what I understand, they flew through Mykolaiv somehow. Sometimes they fly between Ochakiv and Mykolaiv, like through like right here. Maybe that's what they did. I'm not really sure, but I do know that Vitaly Kim said that they shot down 10 Shaheds last night in Mykolaiv Oblast. Um, and if I remember right, actually, I can't remember the total number of Shaheds. Do you remember the total number of Shaheds? I just remember that Ukraine claimed they shot down all but three, but I can't remember what the number was. Was it 14 out of 17 or 17 out of 20? It was something like that. They claimed to have shot down all but three. Um, anyways, um, there was also a strike on Slovyansk, which I apparently forgot the map, but there's a strike on Slovyansk where they blew up a building. There was strikes in Brest-Litovsk, which doesn't it's not super important. But in Kupiansk, there was a guided bomb strike that killed um, at least six people, four men and two women. So this was a significant strike last night, or actually it was this afternoon, I believe, into Kupiansk. And there's also been strikes in multiple strikes in Kharkiv, which I believe were, I think it was S-300 and then Iskander and then S-300 again. So, and then maybe more S-300. I can't really remember. But Kharkiv has been getting hit repeatedly, mostly in kind of this area of the city. And so, yeah, those are the significant attacks. And also, there have been attacks in Odessa, in various parts of Odessa. Although, I don't know, do you know more about these attacks in Odessa? Because I follow a lot of sources in Odessa, and none of them ever even mention that these attacks happen. And it's incredibly frustrating to me.
Yeah, I honestly find out more about the tax, like around the Danube River ports. I find out more about those from the people in Romania that I talk to than I do from most of the Ukrainians.
Yeah.
There's one account who lives in Odessa, and she's pretty good about actually posting when Odessa has some issues, and one of her family members lives down near one of the ports. But like, those are the reliable people who actually report on it. Other than that, it's, yeah, ridiculously hard to actually find information. I get more information from either grain traders or shippers or people who
Yeah.
live in Romania than I do from Ukrainians.
Yeah, same. And finding information about Lviv today was really hard. I looked at the Lviv government. They didn't even mention there was an attack. I looked at the police. They didn't mention there was an attack. The mayor did talk about it a little bit, not very much, but like there's no official sources about Lviv. But anyways, that's kind of the bigger strikes that I can think of. There's one that I don't really want to talk about in depth, but I guess we kind of have to talk about it at least a little bit. Is that right here and in Kryvyi Rih, there was a Lancet strike on a MiG-29. Now, there's a lot about this video that I find very suspicious. I thought the video was fake for most of the day, but I don't think it's fake anymore. But this here, I will draw a little circle. How big should I'll make the circle 100 kilometers. And I'm going to put it right on top of that. And this is the 100-kilometer circle. 100 kilometers is a very long way. Obviously, it's actually further than the Lancet would have to travel, although the Lancet does not travel in a straight line, and we don't know how curved it would be to get here. We do know that the Lancet attacked. It attacked from the north, so it attacked like this way. So it definitely did not just make a straight line path. It at least had some curve in it, most likely, unless there's like a DRG or something like over here shooting it, which is probably unlikely. But anyways, so most likely it probably like took off somewhere over here and flew up and then curved down something in some sort of path that obviously that we have no way of knowing what path it took. But anyways, so that is it's somewhat worrying that they can hit a Lancet in Kryvyi Rih, considering how far Kryvyi Rih is from the front. It's also somewhat worrying that you can hit a fighter jet this close to the front line. And beyond that, I don't really want to talk about it. Unless you have something to say.
No, all of that feels not finished yet, as in there's like more information we're missing, and I don't know what it is, so I'm not really comfortable talking about it.
Yeah. So anyways, I figured that I had to at least bring up this event. And I don't really want to talk about it because I just don't want to talk about it. Anyway, so now I will just go through the front line and give some news, of which, spoiler, there's not very much. So what is going on around Kupiansk? I already mentioned this bomb strike. In the area in Sinkivka, there's no change. The area around Ivanivka, I have honestly no information other than there was a bomb strike, an airstrike there today. I really wish I would love to get information from right around here, but I just literally have none. I got some information from there, so that's cool, but I would like to get more up here. But anyways, anyway, so the Klischiivka area, no change. Okay, so Novoselivske and Kurdyumivka, this area actually has a change. So yesterday there was this video of a Ukrainian assault getting hit by Russian artillery. So this video was filmed, I believe, by the Russian artillery, or at least their recon. So yeah, so it really focused on their artillery aspect of, and not what the Ukrainian infantry were doing. But anyways, so it did show that Ukraine was inside of the town, which honestly I didn't know they were inside of the town. We also got a Ukrainian drone footage of a Ukrainian drone attacking Russian infantry that were also inside of the town. So I'll remind you that this is a very tiny town. It is it's almost exactly 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer, and basically every structure is destroyed and has been for months. So the main value in this town is this train station, which Russia currently controls. Um, there is a layer of trenches in this tree line, and there's another one in this tree line. Um, and I believe there's a third layer of trenches between like these first two roads of the first two streets in the town. Um, Now, whatever is over here, I don't know of any major defenses, but there are all of the basements for all these houses. So the people could be hiding in the low basements, or the Russian infantry. There are no civilians here, by the way, unless they like snuck in or something. But all of the civilians that lived here are gone. Um, so, anyways, that is Novoselivske. That is an actual legitimate map change. That was this is the change that happened. Anyways, so now moving on south. Stalemate, there's no news. Novomairske, the only news that came out was just drone footage of all the Russians who failed to capture the town and are now littering the countryside. Now, mcgee, there was no news. There was some shelling here the other day. There was a police report from here about shelling houses of random civilians. And they say that those houses were not near military, that they were very civilian. And they were implying that Russia knew that they were civilian. Anyways, so there was that. There was not so much going on here. There's Novoselivske is being repeatedly hit by airstrikes for several days now. Torska is getting heavily shelled as per usual, and the forest area has no particular changes. So yeah, now moving on.
Can we?
Yep.
Do you mind showing me the elevation changes in the forest area? Because I don't think I've ever looked at that.
Okay. Let's go there, because right now we're not there. Okay, this is Robotyne. Where's the forest? I'm very sure it's just flat, to be honest. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
and this forest is made of sand, which is weird. Not all forests are made of sand, but this one is. So the sand
I remember
forest.
seeing the videos of the trenches that are just like completely sand. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's weird. You don't often see sand forests. At least I don't. I don't think I've ever even been in a sand forest, to be honest. All the forests I've been to have dirt. Just normal soil.
Think, like, how does so much stuff die and not make more dirt? That's kind of weird, actually. Like in a forest, trees die and then you get dirt,
Yeah.
but not there.
I guess it gets washed away. This all here is very lush. It's all the dirt, I guess.
Apparently.
Anyways,
Thank you.
Bilohorivka has no changes. We've been getting increasingly more video from Bilohorivka, especially this hill here, which is a rather large hill. I guess I could show it in 3D. It's this is exaggerated by 3 times, by the way. So keep that in mind. This is 300% on the y-axis. But it is a rather significant hill. It's not this significant, but it is significant. Just imagine 3 times smaller. But anyway, we've been getting video from this hill, which we really have not gotten in a very, very long time. It's actually somewhat interesting. Um, I kind of feel that a new Russian unit may have been moved here, and this unit really likes making videos, and uh, and now they're making videos about this hill. That's kind of the impression that I get, but I might be wrong.
And they're backed up against that river on one side.
Yeah. So this isn't exactly where, but this is where Russia had that completely disastrous river crossing. Remember, where it went
Yep.
very badly. So I don't. They like are
Boy.
traumatized. They're like, we're not doing that again. Like, they don't. It wasn't literally here. It was like over here, I think. I can't remember exactly where, but that went so badly. And the description of it from the engineer was so fascinating because he said that he like heard people like a boat and he went out to scout it and he saw them crossing, so he called in artillery and the artillery like hit them, and then they're like, the artillery's not enough, call in airstrikes. They just started calling it like helicopters and bombers and stuff, and they were just bombing it. It was so bad for Russia. That was a complete disaster. But yeah, this river is really difficult to cross because um, this northern part is all low grounds and the southern part is all much, like, very significantly higher, and it's also very steep. So it's just not the ideal place to cross. Um, and yeah, so Ukraine has been defending Belohorivka this entire time.
That doesn't look fun. Down in a valley.
Yeah, Belohorivka has been on. It has nearly been lost several times, but Ukraine keeps counterattacking. Um, they have been beaten back to like around here, and they counterattacked back. Um, More recently, Russia kind of crossed this this little dippy poo, and they uh, took this tree line, and Ukraine counterattacked and took the tree line back and pushed Russia back across. So um, yeah, this whole area is, it's really hard for both sides to attack, and that's why nothing has changed. Now in Verkno there's no change. And in Sperna, there have been a few somewhat interesting videos of, namely, Russia has been heavily shelling this trench system right here. You can't see the trench system, but there is one. If I look at, I could probably show you the video actually. There have been a bunch of videos on this. So here you can sort of see the trench system. So I'll show the video. Why not? There's nothing like bad about it. It's just artillery. So yeah, this is great. This is the trench system. So you can see all these little trenches. It's been heavily shelled. You can see lots of shelling. And this has been continuously shelled by Russia. I don't know for how long, but they've been publishing the videos for a few days, like every day for a few days. And this over here is also getting shelled. They hit it with some incendiaries, which accomplished nothing. But anyway, these two positions are being pretty heavily shelled. And like a few days ago, I can't remember when, to be honest. All the time kind of runs together, but there were a whole bunch of these videos of just Sperna just getting absolutely shellacked by artillery. It really felt like they fired an artillery shell into every single building in the entire town, and they kept doing it like this time. Like, it's just getting absolutely shellacked. And the same for this trench system up here, and it's probably also true over there, but we don't get as many videos over there. So Anyways, all of that said, nothing has changed. It's just more of the same. Now, getting into this Vasily area, um, there was a rather interesting video of a Russian drone attack on Ukrainian infantry that was down here, which was previously known to be Russian controlled, but no longer. Now it's apparently neutral or gray area or whatever. Not really sure. But so yeah. Other than that, there's no changes north of Solidar. So Vesele and Razdolivka and Fedorivka and Vasyukivka, all the same. No particular changes. Now down here by Orko Vasilivka, no changes. By Dubovo Vasilivka, also no changes. Berhivka and Yehidna, no changes. Kromova, there were a whole bunch of people who were shocked that Ukraine is in this town due to this video that came out of Russian drone attacks on the town. I don't know why this shocked so many people, because Ukraine has been there the entire time, basically. But that was rather shocking to some people. In addition, there were some Russian drone attacks in this kind of area south of Krymova near Bakhmut, where Ukraine is apparently attacking towards Bakhmut. Now, I don't know exactly where. There's three places where it would make sense for Ukraine to attack Bakhmut. The first would be this tree line. The second would be this tree line, which we know for a fact that Ukraine has attacked in the past. And the third place to attack would be this little area. It's like a resort or whatever this is. I don't really know what that is. But anyways, this kind of like it used to be called like the tree. Not the tree, the airplane area, because there used to be an airplane right here, but Ukraine blew it up. But anyways, so those are the three areas that Ukraine could be attacking. I'm not really sure which one they are. I have no videos or information really. I assume that they're attacking this tree line because that's where they attacked last time. Now, moving on down to Klischiivka. Klischiivka is most likely completely captured by Ukraine. There are some reports that these like northernmost houses are still in Russian control, but I don't really believe those reports. It's possible, it's plausible, but I don't really believe them. Right now, Ukraine is working on pushing Russia across this railway, the railroad. Now, this section here, I'm not entirely sure Russia still controls it. I just have it there as kind of a relic. But I know that Russia has been trying to attack from this tree line to the west, trying to get into this tree line, and they really want to get to this tree line and move their way back to Klischiivka, but all that has failed. Russia is setting up a line of defense along this stretch of the railway, and they've been trying to push back into Klischiivka, but to no success. So, with that said, there is this video of Klischiivka, which I want to show, because it shows what the town looks like now, which isn't much, to be honest. It's completely destroyed. So this is the video. It's kind of amazing that this town, which holds little to no military value, has now been fought over so many times. It's kind of wild to think about. The first attack here, when Russia pushed through, obviously caused tremendous damage. But there were still trays and whatnot when they captured the town. And now that Ukraine has pushed through, this town is just gone. It's just, there's like nothing. Um, oh, yeah.
That is incredible
Yeah. So this is,
in not a good way.
it's wild how much damage this town has taken. Um, I kind of wish I could show some videos of what this town looked like a few months ago, but I can't think of an easy way to do that.
It's actually kind of amazing that you can still tell what some of that was.
Yeah. Um, yeah, they when Ukraine pushed through here, they said that when they were walking through it, they couldn't always tell where one house started and another house ended because it was just like a stream of rubble, and you some of like the foundations you can't even see anymore. So it's just like a pile of rubble that goes from one foundation to another. So anyways, that is Klischiivka. What it looks like now. Uh, Now to the south of Klischiivka, there is Andriivka, which there was this somewhat amusing video today. Now I want to say that this is a video of a Ukrainian attack. So these are Ukrainian helicopters, and they're shooting rockets and flares. But the caption is just so funny. It's a destruction of the Ukrainian armed forces assault group. Like, okay. But anyways, these are Ukrainian helicopters. You can tell this is Klischiivka. That is the hill above Klischiivka, which we were just looking at. And just having just looked at it, you know that everything that way is in Ukrainian control. So everything to the bottom is in Russian control, right? Um, so this is like these are these ponds south of Klischiivka, and like over here is like Andriivka. So this is where the rockets hit. So obviously, it's a Ukrainian helicopter attacking Russian positions. So these rockets approximately landed here. So, and you could see it. This was that pond that you could see, and this is that hill that you could see, and that the helicopter's like over here, and they hit over there. So, anyways, Andriivka is currently in Ukrainian control. Now, I've talked about how Ukraine captured Andriivka before, but I guess we'll talk about it again. Andriivka was very difficult to attack. I'm going to use the measurement tool to as a drawing aid. So basically, what Ukraine tried first was an attack this way, where they attacked down this tree line. They kind of got to around here, and then they were pushed back, and they kind of sat there for a while. Their plan B was to use this tree line, and they tried to push down this tree line, and they kind of got to around here, and they got pushed back, and they pushed up and got to around there again, and got pushed back and then pushed up, and this was kind of going back and forth and back and forth. Okay, so those. Okay, so then their next attempt was to come down this way, where they pushed down, and they got to around here, and they got stuck. Okay, so this is kind of how it sat for a while, until I'm not sure which broke first, but from what I understand, Ukraine attacked again this way. Let me draw. Let me draw. Did I? Okay. They attacked this way, like this, and then kind of curved up. So it was, anyway, this is not a good drawing tool. This is more of a measurement tool than a drawing tool. But anyways, they kind of pushed up this way, and they got to around here. We have video of this assault, so we know exactly what happened. They pushed up to around here, and then they got beaten back. But then they pushed south, and they kind of took a hold in this area down here. So they kind of pushed up, they went up here, didn't work out, and then like a few days later, they kind of got a hold down here. Then what I think happened next was either Ukraine pushed south this way, or they pushed north that way. I'm not really sure. I assume they pushed south, and they captured this over. Well, I don't even know if they captured it, but they kicked Russia out of this area. Now, when Russia lost this foothold, and so they lost this southern foothold, they lost this northern foothold, and Andriivka was then very exposed, because Ukrainian forces were here, which was like a few hundred meters away. You had Ukrainian forces here kind of moving up, which is again a few hundred meters away. And you had this kind of little defensive position up here that was lost. And Ukraine then hammered artillery along this tree line for a while, like a week or whatever. And then eventually they decided to assault Andriivka and took the town. So from what I understand, that's basically how Andriivka fell, or was captured, or however you want to look at it. So now what Ukraine is desiring to do, from what I understand, they apparently have been attacking Kurdyumivka. We don't really have much evidence of that other than gossip, basically, just people talking about it. Um, and I don't know if there's been any progress there, but their goal at this point will be to capture Kurdyumivka, which I believe is going to be increasingly untenable for Russia as Ukraine gets more and more control over this railway. They will push south. It's just natural for Ukraine to push into Kurdyumivka, and Ukraine is going to be able to cut off the roads to Kurdyumivka. I don't think Kurdyumivka will last long, and when Kurdyumivka goes, Ozaryannivka, I believe, will probably follow. All four of these towns are basically a set. You can't really hold any of them if you don't hold all of them. So I think Kurdyumivka and Ozaryannivka are both going to be captured soon. I don't know what soon is. It could be in a month. It depends on a lot of factors, but I don't think they're going to last long.
So then between the railroad and the big highway, is there any really is there trenches or any other big defensive positions?
All of these tree lines are defended. We have seen some, like very little. We've seen some video of these tree lines, and they are all defended. But I don't know how well those defenses will stand up to a determined attacker. I guess we'll see. Because the main issue is that this northern part has a pretty significant dip to it. Let's go to 3D. Where am I? Sperna. Okay. So this northern part has a bit of a dip to it, where Ukraine, when they get there, which I don't think it's going to take much to clear Russia out of this field and this tree line. I just really don't think it'll take much. Um, but anyways, when Ukraine gets here, uh, they will have to go down into the swampiness and then come back up out of the swampiness. So the swamp is or wet area, wetlands, lowlands, whatever you want to call it. It's not the ideal place to move equipment. Uh, there are some crossings. I don't know how significant the crossings are, but there are some crossings. You can sort of see them. They're kind of here every once in a while. There are crossings. I don't know if you can drive across them, but I know you can walk across them. And there's this road here, and this road, I don't know how useful it is. It may be mostly destroyed at this point. Um, but yeah, so this whole northern section has this lowland area, whereas this southern section near Kurdyumivka does not have that issue. Instead of having lowlands, it has these like weird industrial salt pond things. I don't actually know what this is, but it's like it just looks like a salt pond to me for some reason, for like evaporating water. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Do you know what this is? I have no idea. I'm
Uh,
not smart enough to look at a pond and know what kind of salt it is.
well, I would guess that it probably was some kind of mine for something, whatever it is. And it just because it happens to be a hole in the ground, water sits in it, but it's not
Um,
like intentionally filled with water.
yeah, because I have seen some videos through here, and it seemed sandy to me. Um, I don't know what that means because there were some Adam videos where they were attacking vehicles along this road. It's not really a road, is but they Russia turned it into a road. Anyway, they were attacking vehicles along this road with FPV drones. So we do have a little bit of footage of this area, and it seemed rather sandy. I don't know what that means though. But anyways, this is much easier to cross than marshy swamp stuff. So this is much preferable to move down here. So yeah. Now, the issue that Russia has, and I think this is a significant issue, is that the further east Ukraine gets, the harder it is for Russia to defend. And today there were a bunch of Russians writing about this issue. Um, they were talking about, well, first there were a few comments that are interesting. First, let me just see if I can get the quote, because I tweeted out, and I just want to. It'll be easy for me to get that quote. Um, okay. Okay, so here it is. Let me make my window smaller so I can see more than just the quote. Okay, oops. So basically, to sum this up, Ukraine is not attacking with heavy equipment. Like, for example, they're not using that many tanks and whatnot. They're working in small assault groups with a lot of reserve forces that they can use to reinforce. They tend to attack at night, and they can build defensive positions very quickly. Now, all of this first paragraph, if you were to tell me this without any context, I would assume you're talking about Wagner. Because this is the exact description of Wagner that I got talking to Ukrainian soldiers. This is like exactly what they would say. That Wagner almost never used armor. They would assault in small groups. And the thing that stuck out was that as soon as Wagner got into a position, they would very rapidly build defenses there. And that was what made Wagner difficult attack or defend against. That was what I heard from so many different Ukrainian soldiers. But anyways, they say that Ukraine is not sparing airstrikes and artillery, especially at night. Um, especially at night where the artillery works without Russian counterfire. And if we give our position away, if we retake a position from Ukraine, Ukraine will immediately destroy the position with artillery and then come take it again. Again, this is exactly what you would say about Wagner. This whole comment sounds like they're describing Wagner. Anyways, and they say that Ukraine has an advantage in artillery, observation, and adjustment. They also have the dominant heights, and the terrain is very bad for us. Plus, their electronic warfare is better, even though sometimes we succeed. So, this whole comment was very interesting. It talks about many different issues. First, how is Ukraine attacking? Which we kind of knew already. It's just, to me, it's more interesting hearing it come from the Russians, that this is how they're describing it. We kind of knew this is how Ukraine was attacking because we have videos. We literally have videos of them attacking, so we like know how they attack. So now, hearing Russia say that Ukraine does not spare artillery fire, it's interesting. I don't fully believe it, but who knows? And and yeah,
Is there, sorry,
these Ukrainian forces are very professional. These are some of the best forces Ukraine has. The third and the fifth, and the 92nd. These are all very, very good brigades.
is there, so the first paragraph of that was really interesting to me because it essentially talked about them like building defensive positions overnight. Is there any detail you can talk about with that that isn't kind of an OPSEC thing, or am I like reading way too much into that and they're just like digging holes really fast, or
I don't read so much into it on like I don't I don't think this is like a secret or anything. It's just kind of once you get a foothold into a position, you set up there to defend it. I think it's more of a sign of professionalism, of just knowing what you're doing. I think that's more what they're saying. It's not like they're doing some secret sauce special defenses or something like that. It's just when they get in there, they know what they're doing. It's like all the soldiers know their job and do it. I think that's more what he's saying.
I gotcha. Yeah, I just don't know. So I figured, hey, why not ask that question? But that
Yeah.
makes total sense. I get it. Yeah.
I think that's what he's saying anyway. That's how I read it. Um, so yeah. Um, so the undulating terrain and Ukraine having the high ground are two important points because basically from here on out, Ukraine is always going to have the high ground, more or less, um, or at least they're always going to have a high ground. Let's put it that way. There's Ukraine will always be higher than Russia in one like local area. Russia might be higher, but generally speaking, Ukraine will always have a place higher than Russia has. So this hill above Klischiivka is basically the highest hill around, and this other like very very small hill right in front of Klischiivka is like the next highest hill. Like maybe not literally, but it's like more or less. And so as Ukraine pushes forward, they're going to have the ability to use these hills to clear this area, And once they get to like the highway, they're going to be on the high ground again, which they can use to clear, out to like this area. And they're just going to be able to keep doing that until they get all the way across where it goes back up again. So, uh, so yeah, this Russia is at a terrain disadvantage here. This terrain is it's set up like just the natural lay of the land is set up to defend an attack from the east and not one from the west. So it's kind of like a one-way valve kind of. Uh, so yeah, I feel like I've said this a lot about this area, but it's true. So, anyways,
I think it's worth repeating because people forget things. I repeat them all the time. It's useful.
you know, uh, anyways, I have no information about the Toretsk area in New York and all this area. Uh, in Avdiivka yesterday, there was a lot of bombing. I believe yesterday, Russia was reported to have done 6 separate airstrikes on the city. They knocked down several buildings, and I think they wounded some civilians and stuff. And anyways, so Avdiivka has been getting hit pretty hard with bombs, but more or less the front line hasn't changed. Russia has been attacking out of Epitna, pushing north to try to take back this fortified position that they lost, but they've not been able to push out of Epitna. I have no news about Vodiana and Novomairske and all these other areas. I have no information. So, and Klischiivka is also getting hit by bombs, but other than that, I have no information. Marinka, no changes. Novoselivske, no changes. Vuhledar is getting hit by bombs, but otherwise no changes. Around Novomairske, I know of no known changes. There was this very interesting video that I would actually love to show you, but I can't because it's too graphic. But this video that I can't show you, it is an FPV carpet bomber, which I think is fascinating. An FPV carpet bomber. Did you ever think you'd hear of that?
What?
It's not an FPV crash into you. I can't say that
Yeah.
word. It doesn't crash into you. It's
Uh-huh.
it's not a dive bomber either. It's a carpet bomber.
So,
It flies and drops a whole bunch of bombs.
like, drops them all at the same time or drops
Yeah,
them like
I think
with series?
I'm not sure how it works. But this video, which if you go to the map and you click this, you can watch it. These 3 are all strikes with this carpet bomber, and it's interesting. I've never seen an FPV carpet bomber before. It's actually very interesting. Speaking of which, there was another type of bomber today. If you watch Magyar, he released a 17-minute video today, but the first like 3 minutes of it were carpet bombing with a what's it called? I can't remember the name of that drone. It's the one with a P. Is it not a Predator drone? What's it called? I can't remember. The drone that starts with a P. But anyways, it's the
You are not asking the right person.
the really big. I can't remember the word. It's like a normal word. Starts with a P. I can't remember.
Phantom?
No. Anyways, it's a level. It bombs flying and level flight from really high up, and it's a drone. So, Magyar, he posted a video today, which I suggest go watch. I can't show it. But they nailed things with that drone. following a trajectory for a drone that you're like we're used to like a drone flying above something and dropping a bomb on it, right? Like that's normal. Or there are these dive bombers that kind of, dive at the thing and then pull up and drop a bomb. That's normal. But now what we're seeing are these bombers that fly much higher in the air and they just fly in a straight line and drop the bombs as they go. And Magyar was nailing things. And this carpet bomber was also dead on hitting targets, by the way. Like it's crazy. Anyway, I suggest watching those two videos. I really wish I could show them, but they're too graphic. But anyways, that's kind of the information I have about Novomairske. There's no known changes. There was some Russian artillery in this position that we already knew Ukraine is there. We don't know if Ukraine controls it. In fact, I really doubt they do. But we know that Ukraine is there. It's like a gray area. They've been trying to launch attacks down these tree lines and into the town. And to be honest, I think the attacks have all failed. I have not seen much evidence that they've succeeded. Punisher, that's what it's called. A Punisher drone. That's what it is.
Thank you, viewers.
Yeah. I know it was a P. There's a
I
P.
was Googling and thank goodness somebody beat me to it.
Yeah. Anyways, um, in Stalemate and Robotyne, I have no news. In near Prutne and Rivnapil and Novoselivske, I have no news other than there have been a lot of bombings and drone attacks and stuff, but other than that, no news. Um, Near Malinivka, there's been bombings and stuff, but otherwise no news. Hulipole, no news. Hulipilska and Cherivna, no news. Malotokmaka has been getting heavily bombed. Orkhiv has been getting ridiculously heavily bombed. Like, I don't even know how there's still a city left. They got 6 airstrikes like in one day, and this is not one day. Like it happens like it's like 6 a day every day. I don't even know how there's buildings left. Like seriously, like we could go back in time. Like I don't know if people know this, but you can click this and it'll tell you the details for these airstrikes. So this is like a whole post. So this is this is the what's it called, uh, the Zaporizhia government basically. So this is they come out with these reports of this is from the prior day. So they say like there's 73 artillery strikes. And by the way, when they count artillery strikes, they only count strikes that hit a town. They don't count things that land like between towns. So there's 73 artillery strikes. They list all the town, well, not all, but they list towns that got hit, and they say there's like 4 airstrikes in Orikhiv, 7 drone attacks in these towns, 6 MRL attacks in these towns. They say a 31-year-old was wounded, etc., etc. So this is the daily news from the government of Zaporizhia. So every day I put this in on the map. So there's 5 airstrikes and there's 2 bombs and 2 people were wounded. There's also news that comes from the national police and occasionally the Zaporizhia police, and there's other sources too. So all of these markers are sourced, and Orkiv is getting just shellacked by bombs, and I don't even understand how there's a city anymore. But yeah, so uh, yesterday there were green eyeballs that I should talk about. Um, so south of Molotokmaka and to the east of Robotyne, the 15th Brigade has been very slowly advancing, and they have been shelling these Russian positions in this tree line, and we've seen video of them shelling this. I think I can show video of this shelling. I just so happen to have it right here. So this is what this area looks like. So yeah, this is the 15th Brigade, very slowly moving up, and we can see it on the satellite. The trees are disappearing, and this is Ukrainian artillery from the 15th Brigade. Now, getting to Verbova. These tree lines near Verbova have been demolished. We know that Russia did a counterattack, and this is not isolated. Russia has been counterattacking very frequently, very, very, very frequently. This is their thing now. Basically, every time Ukraine gets close, Russia pushes them back. And they're doing it frequently and with a lot of forces. So, for example, I don't know if I can show this video. I think I can show the beginning of it, because not really much happens in the beginning. So this is a BMD-4, I believe. So I believe this is a the VDV, I think. They're attacking is booking it. The BMD-4 is a very fast vehicle. It's very lightweight, very fast. So it is moving up as fast as it can go, doing its thing. It unloads some infantry, and they attack this position that Ukraine was in at the time. And I don't know whether this attack succeeded or failed, but that is what the attack mostly looked like. And that BMD was driving up here. It did a number of things that I find tactically dubious, to put it lightly. I don't feel like really getting into that right now, but there are a bunch of things that I think the BMD made some tactical errors personally. But anyways, so they did an assault. Now moving on to over here, this was somewhat interesting to me that this tree line was getting destroyed, and I thought, wow, that means Ukraine might be moving south. And then I saw this tree line was getting destroyed, and I thought, wow, maybe they're even further south. And then this video came out, which I can't show you because it's very graphic, but this video came out of Ukrainian position getting shelled by ATGMs. So Ukraine pushed all the way down to here, whereas when I was looking at the satellite, I was happy with them just being up there. But in fact, they've pushed all the way down to here, which is pretty interesting to me. Now, moving over to here, there's an airstrike and an airstrike. I don't know whose airstrikes those are, but they're brand new. I assume that this one might be Russian. That one I have no idea. And down here there is moderate shelling, not super heavy shelling. I have no clue who currently controls this area, but we did get a clue today in that there was a Ukrainian drone attack on a trench system that is right here. So this area is likely in Russian control, and I'll probably change it. I do a morning update of the map for the overnight events, and I'll probably change that with the morning update because I'm going to go to sleep after the stream. Anyway, and then there was another Ukrainian drone attack over there. So Ukraine appears to be attacking south. I don't know if they've actually gotten down here. I kind of doubt it, but it's possible because I don't actually know who controls this tree line. But we now seem to know that Russia controls this trench right here. But anyways, moving on. This tree line just north of Novoprokopivka has been absolutely destroyed. Now it's this tree line here, and it seems very likely that Ukraine is using this tree line to assault. I would find it very shocking if that were not the case. Now, I don't know if they've actually pushed all the way down, or if they tried to get in and got pushed back, or if they pushed in and they control here. I have no idea. But this degree of damage on this tree line over such a short period of time, because just a few days ago this tree line was undamaged and now it's completely gone, like absolutely gone, is it's a lot of damage in a very short period of time. Now this tree line here is also pretty savagely being deleted. Again, I don't know who is doing that. There was a Russian assault into this forest recently. Now, I don't know when that video was filmed. I just know that it was released on the 17th or thereabouts. And Russia tried to attack. The attack, there are two videos for this. I can't show either of them because they're both graphic, but one video showed Russia moving into the position, and the next video showed it not going so well. So let's put it that way. Now, this tree line, which we have videos of vehicles attacking down, and we didn't know whose vehicles they were, and we still don't, to be honest. But this tree line is being destroyed. Today, Constantine posted a video from the north of Novoprokopivka, which shows a vehicle being destroyed. We can't identify the vehicle, and we don't know how it was destroyed, but it was destroyed right there. It is right here in Novoprokopivka. The vehicle was trying to go north, from what I can tell. Didn't make it. Now, this tree line is getting damaged. This whole trench system, I'm not sure what's going on with it. It seems, I really doubt that Russia controls this trench. And I kind of doubt that they control these tree lines, either of them. At least not in full. It's possible Russia only controls like up to here and not there. There have been videos in the recent past of Russia shooting TOS in this general area, which seems to imply that they may not control any of that tree line. And that drone filming was filming from roughly here. And it kind of, the video implied that there were no Russians in either of these tree lines. But I don't actually know if that's true or not. And there's some MRL shelling in this tree line here. Not really sure what that means. It might be a Russian position. I'm not really sure. So that is more or less all the green eyeballs I have around Robotyne. And just to show that there were a few other green eyeballs near Marfapil, Russians are shelling a known Ukrainian position. Yeah, there's around Prutny, there's MRL scars all over the place. These are all fresh MRLs. We get regular daily reports from the national police and from the government of Zaporizhia that there are MRL strikes here, so it's not really a surprise. So yeah, that's kind of it. Do you have a question?
I've decided that whenever you post your update for the day, I'm just going to start responding with gifs of the Lorax for all the trees that are disappearing.
The trees are not having a good time.
We need more Lorax in the world.
Yeah. One thing of note is that today there was a video of a Russian DRG or whatever you want to call it. They tried to set up in this area on this island, and that's just to keep a note that that's where it is. It's not terribly important. It's just something to keep in mind. So yeah, that's kind of all the news I got. Um,
The
that
Russians tried to set up on that island. This okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I
Amusing.
don't really know what they would do on the island. Like they might be setting up a mortar or a drone to scout. I have no idea what they're doing there, but they didn't make it. I don't think any of them survived. I'm not sure. Um, there's a question for you.
Uh-oh.
Did you notice um, that Umarov? I think that's how you say his name. Anyways, Umarov. He included the Navy as a top 5 priority for.
He sure did.
There we go.
I'm a
So
big fan of Umarov, let me tell you. Um, I'm not only a big fan for that, like that was very cool. And I admit I've been really busy at like my normal job today. So I've missed some of the UN coverage, but Zelensky mentioned the Black Sea Grain Initiative and made a big deal out of it. And I, even in his post about it, he's mentioned that. Umarov mentioned the Navy, and I think the Ukrainian Navy is like the special weapon that nobody really talks about. And um, I think they're doing a lot more than people realize they're doing. So I'm a huge fan of that. But then the other thing that I thought was really, really interesting on Umarov's Twitter account, he posted a video of him, and it's you can't hear what anybody's saying. There's just music playing over it, and it's just him like shaking hands with a whole series of people. But he's shaking hands with them. He very clearly is speaking English that they are all understanding and responding back to him. So, like, number one, he's able to communicate really effectively with these people, which is like key in his role. Um, he's passing out business cards, which I can only assume has some sort of direct contact method for him, which I think is also a really useful and positive thing to do in this. Um, and he just looks like he's a very warm and engaging person who's really good at glad handing. And when we were talking about who could possibly take over from Reznikov, those were things that I had mentioned as being a real positive for that particular position. And I found it really encouraging just to watch the body language and how each of those interactions went. It seems like he might be the perfect fit for that position. So I'm a huge fan.
yeah,
Absolutely.
obviously I don't know him at all, but from what I've heard about him is that he is a very kind and genuine person and easily likable. So when you talk to him, it's easy to make friends. Basically, that he has good charisma about him, and he's relatively humble, from what I understand. So that those are the things that I've heard. Obviously, I've never met him, so I have no idea.
See, now if we could get like invited to that defense conference that they're hosting, we could meet him. We could see all the defense cool stuff that's going on. Um, and somebody should totally take care of that for us. Like, if anybody's wondering, Andrew and I want to go. Just FYI.
Yeah, it's relatively close too, right? So at least to me, maybe
Oh,
not to you.
totally. It'll be fine. We'll find a C-130 and away we go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But there was a question. I probably I hinted at answering this in the thumbnail of the video that I should never talk about it, which is kind of usually my strategy. Usually the thumbnail is stuff that I don't want to talk about. But anyways, what do I think is going to happen next? I have no idea. I am more
Come on, fortune teller.
I'm more optimistic about Bakhmut than I am about the south. Um, but the issue that I see for Russia is that I think that they are running out of vehicles. I'm not saying they have zero vehicles. I just think that they're running out of vehicles. And
Not loaves, definitely.
no, they have tons of loaves. Hi, Constantine.
Hello.
Um, but I think Russia running out of vehicles. I think once they hit a certain wall, which I think might take like another 6 months to get there. I think once they hit that wall, I think the war is going to change a lot. What do you think, Constantine? Do you think the war will change if Russia runs out of vehicles, or at least if they hit it? Do you think their behavior will change? How Russia fights?
I think their behavior is changing right now already. We can see it. Like if we watch the videos right now, and from what I hear, like finding Russian equipment is more and more complex. It's more scarce for them. And so I do think that, and we see, more and more love strikes, and we only see half. Like for example, like I have probably 10, 15 videos that I did not upload that I have, and I did not upload them.
I don't think we even see half, to be honest. Like, I feel like whenever you talk to someone that you haven't talked to before in a while, you know what I mean? Like maybe in like 3 months, I bet you they can hand you a bunch of videos you've never seen before, right? And you could probably do that with every single person you know, probably, right?
Yes, especially with FPVs. This is an issue because with FPVs, with Mavics, for example, the surveillance drone, you actually you film, you record, you bring back the Mavic, you pull out the card, the flash card with the memory, with the storage, and you can store this video. But with FPV drones, because they're usually suicide ones, it's only one way. If someone records it, like literally the live stream, then you can have it. But records on the remote. But usually not many people do. That's why you see FPV videos. They're really low quality. Usually like screen recorded quite often. That's because you don't get the flash card from one way kamikaze drone. So I'm also thinking that loads like, I don't know, 50, 40, 60% of the FPV videos or even more are not being made public ever because they're simply lost. And that's I think the reality that we have right now.
Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of FPV drones are filmed by like Mavics.
Yeah, because Mavic, first of all, Mavic does the search. Because FPV has shitty camera, it does not have zoom. You cannot find equipment, so you gotta have one Mavic that will find the target for you and direct. That's one of the things. And another thing is that the Mavic drone, it often carries the repeater because on FPV drone, when it starts descending, as it gets closer to the ground, it loses connection with your remote control because of the curvature of the earth, because of the obstacles between you and the drone. And Mavic at the same time, it has a small repeater attached to it that transmits signal from your remote to the Mavic and from the Mavic to the FPV. This is how they usually work, like in conjunction. So you cannot have just FPV. It's quite hard to use. You gotta have some other good optics drone and also a transmission if you're trying to fly somewhere further than a couple of kilometers. So I wanted to add that I see that Russia, at least that's what I see, that's what I hear. Russia has problems with equipment. Their losses. If you have followed Andrew's tweets with the Russian losses, they've been losing very big amount of tanks lately.
So many.
And,
So many tanks. I
yeah,
don't even know how they lose so many.
yeah, it's just not sustainable. Uh, Once again, and I think that when you lose equipment, if you have static positions, equipment is not as important sometimes because your forces are well protected in the trenches and in the bunkers under the ground. But if you introduce like a maneuver warfare, if some kind of breach happens, then you need really mobile firepower that can be thrown from one place to another. Mm, so I think that this is something that can be exploited. Of course, it's hard, but this is something that can be exploited. So we will see. But I do see problems that Russia is having with this, and I see that it can lead to general, like, if breakthrough finally happens, it can be very effective because of lack of Russian mobile firepower right now. This is what I'm thinking. But of course, it's quite hard to manipulate and like to be concrete on this because of course like we don't know the details how much Russia has in their reserves, how much they have hidden.
Yeah.
We just operate on what we see, and we see a lot. So let's keep that in mind as well.
From
So, but
from what
yeah,
I've heard is that about 40% of their armor is in nearby Russia, not in Ukraine. So like just across the border, basically, like in Rostov or something. That's what I've understood. That's what I've heard. That like it's like 40%. So they have like 60% in Ukraine, and the other 40% is just across the border. It's close enough that you could bring it to Ukraine in like a day or two.
well, there too is not that small of a. It's a period. It's not a small period. Remember, like if you have breakthroughs, one day can make a big difference. So I don't know about if that's smart or not, but they of course want to keep it further. So the further it is, the safer it is. But what about like remember we sometimes we see those echelons with Russian armor moving in, the pictures taken of it. Have you watched like or maybe have just the feeling if we had more of those lately or less
What?
like echelons of
Oh,
Russian trains with the equipment heading into Ukraine.
I have seen I've seen stuff going from Rostov to Ukraine, um, and there are occasionally those big trains, but I think at this point, um, those trains are kind of on a set schedule because I think they can only transport like one batch of tanks a month, or maybe two. I think it's two batches of tanks per month because it's like one batch that they make new and the other batch that they refurbish. And I think they're transported separately. So it's like,
Well, I'm not talking about like out of the factory. They do have units inside Russia,
yeah,
right? That are not deployed right now, and they have tanks. So
I
it may
don't
be
know.
new unit coming in with their equipment that is ready for action. Doesn't mean that it's refurbished. So I have a feeling that there was a decrease of such videos,
It's it's
but it's uh,
it's definitely decreased. It's definitely decreased.
so these are small indicators. They mean something, but of course they do not give a full picture. But generally, I do think that something may happen. Ukraine keeps up the pressure. I know that Russia, for example, in the south, their loss ratio is pretty high compared to Ukraine. I'm not saying it's 1 to 3, but it's pretty high, and they're not very happy there. And maybe they're gonna crack at some point. I know I've been saying that for a long time, but this is how wars go. If you look at the Kharkiv offensive, for example, before it happened, It happened in like in at this period in September, but how much time before that was Russia taking losses, so they were degraded enough to enable like a breakthrough operation. So I think Ukraine is having like dealing damage, high damage to Russians, and this may result at some point that forces are going to be degraded, and we can exploit that. I hope so.
Yes, I hope so too. Did you read that the the the, the thread by Heimarst about the artillery?
No, I have not.
It's a short thread. It's like 4 tweets, but he basically was arguing that okay, so I'm going by memory here, but I he was basically saying that there is a difference in the number of um like SPGs removed from storage and the number um, of towed guns that have been either heavily modified or removed from storage. Um, and he thinks that the difference in the numbers, because they don't match like Russia's losses, right? There's many thousands more out of storage than Russia has sent to Ukraine, and he was suggesting that those towed guns, they were having the barrels removed and put onto self-propelled guns.
That definitely may be true as well, because I know we do it in Ukraine. We use those, for example, on SPGs specifically, because the state of the SPG in the storage may be really bad. Like the engine gonna be, leaking. Its block may already be cracked a long time ago, because poor exploitation, poor conditions of storage and usage. Or like its transmission, maybe all the seals may have gone, all the gears maybe broken, but at the same time it did not fire too much, and you have pretty good barrel. So and reusing the barrel. We did it on pions. I know that definitely. We took a lot of broken pions and took their barrels and installed on the working ones. So this is a valid theory. Of course, we don't,
Yeah.
we will know it after the war, but it's like a pretty plausible guess, I would say.
But the more to the point would be that if that is what Russia was doing, and I can't remember the stats off the top of my head, I'll try to find the tweet actually. But if I remember right, he basically was saying that like over 40% of the barrels in that inventory have been used already.
That's a lot, but still, not as much as we would want to.
Yeah.
I mean, and right now, but I also want to say that Ukraine, what right now Ukraine has is a pretty good, better than before, and bigger and higher quality park of longer range UAVs. I'm not talking about smaller ones like we provide, like Mavics or commercial. We're talking about drones like Puma, like Shark, like Spectre, and it allows us to do better reconnaissance. And when you have so many drones with good optics um, inside Russian occupied territory, spotting artillery becomes easier, and it's the counter battery works much more effective. So for them, it's pretty complex right now to perform this, high like high intensity artillery barrages, even if they would have enough ammo to do it, and even if they had enough SPGs, the counter battery right now on the Ukrainian side is much more effective. And we switched, for example, from using HIMARS to only strategically super important targets to actually striking Russian assets. So as soon as howitzer appears somewhere, we HIMARS it usually. Not all the time, of course, but we try it, and it's usually effective. So you can, imagine that it's a problem for them as well. So I don't think that even if they have enough artillery, both barrels and the ammo, I don't think they will be as effective as they were, for example, during when they were taking Bakhmut, when it was like literally, they could shoot as much as they wanted for like without interruption. When we saw those pictures of Russian towed guns with thousands used cases.
Even when Russia was attacking this, like the city of Bakhmut, that was even like on the, like they were on the going down. Like, you know what I mean? Like the artillery use was going down at that point. It was before they got to this city that it was absolutely insane. Like Zaitseva and Andriivka, these, like this area in the south, um, the shelling there was insane. It was enormous bombardments. I don't I don't think Russia will ever be able to do that again. It's like, even if they had all the ammo, because like there's all these like rumors that like North Korea is gonna give them like 10 million shells or whatever. I don't think, even having the ammo, I don't think they'll ever be able to achieve that again. For a lot of reasons. I mean, Ukraine's counter battery is one reason. Another reason is I just don't think they have the barrels. I don't think their guns can withstand that amount of abuse again. So
Yeah, also FPVs are an issue right now. They can fly like five. Some newer ones can fly up to 10 kilometers deep. So, and FPVs right now, it's not like, it's not centralized anymore. Like HIMARS, you gotta call someone, in like really high command to use it. But now it's like, well, I have every brigade has an attack drone company. Some of them are successful, some of them are not, some of them have problems, but essentially every brigade should have a capability to actually strike like 10 kilometers very effectively and perform their own counter battery fire. So
10 kilometers is a very long way.
yeah, for Russian, I mean, of course, the Star can fire further, specifically like Star S. But if you talk about their standard things like Star B or Star or D30 or D20, they have much shorter ranges. And considering that you gotta strike like deeper, you don't only strike that the contact line, which means that you got to get closer, and 10 kilometers usually enough for the more like is range of all the howitzers available in the area.
Yeah. So, anyways, is there something that you would like to advertise today, Constantine? Do you have
I don't have much to add right now. We had a fundraiser that is over right now. We have fundraised 50,000. And thank you so much for your support. You helped a lot.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been going for like 2 hours now, and I'm tired. So, all right. So I think that's the stream, guys. Thank you for coming, Constantine, and thank you for coming, Exit,
Thank you for having me.
and thank you to all the listeners who are still here for some reason. Anyway, well, I'll be back on Friday. to talk about more news. Maybe something interesting. Maybe there'll be a breakthrough. Maybe when we come back on Friday, Ukraine will be in Crimea. I mean, who knows? It could happen, you know.
Hey, I posted the video with the Ukrainian special forces infiltrating Crimea, so we're already there.
See? Anyway, so I'll be back on Friday, and yeah. Exit. Is there anything you want to advertise?
If you're into Mexican cartels, we're having a cool space on Thursday night with Mr. Bond at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have 2 people who follow Mexican cartels really closely come and chat with us about their work and their use of OSINT in their work and interesting stuff like that. So I actually am super excited about that particular chat. Both of these guys are like just outstanding and know so much, and I think it's a field that none of us pay enough attention to, so I'm stoked and I hope you all join us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll be there and listen.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So all right, goodbye everybody.
Good night.
Bye.